I don't know, did I tell you that I'm recording audio on me? I started it as soon as we came around the corner. So you're going to have that for two reasons. First off, for references of all the stories, and second, to listen for EVPs. Those are electronic voice phenomenon, voices we can't hear with our own ears. Sometimes they creep up on the regular audio as well. So, thermal imaging, let's get into that. That guy's jamming, right? So you guys can see me in there, right? I'm orange, red, and yellow. I know, pretty cool, right? So everything around me should be blue and black. So if you look like over my shoulders, should be blue and black. So this is set up to black, cold, white, hot. So white, orange, and yellow are going to be our warmest areas, and then blue and black are going to be our coldest areas. We are literally looking for blue and black spots to start moving of something that we can't tell. Now, my skin temperature is probably going to be the warmest thing out here, just like anybody else's skin temperature. It should be 97 to 99 degrees roughly. We want to try to keep a person in view at all times because it needs that base. If I were to point this just at the wall, it's going to bleed out. Okay, until I put my hand in there. And then that wall is probably going to turn blue.
Okay.
Do you see how that worked?
Uh-huh.
So take my hand out, it's going to bleed out to red because it needs to find the warmest temp. Okay, so this is an actual tool used by firemen and mechanics. I wanted the real deal for my tours. Again, you guys are going to get the full video back. You're going to hold it horizontal just like that all night. If your red square that you have on your screen turns to a circle, that means you accidentally hit that button. It's okay. Just hit it again, and I'll splice your video together so you have one seamless video.
Okay.
So, cool gadgets? He's checking you out right now. That's what he's doing. I noticed every guy does it. So, every guy does it.
It can see through clothes, too.
No, it cannot.
It can. I can see you naked right now.
He's recording.
I would be sued every single night if that were true. So I'm going to be using my new tool only because I just got it probably 5 weeks ago. I'm still learning different things about it, even though I go to the same locations every single night. But it does multiple things. So the first thing that it's going to do, this is actually called a millimeter. So it has 3 different functions. This little yellow probe that you see here at the end, this is so in case you find something weird, I can measure the ambient temperature to literally find where that cold spot is floating. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's the bottom number. The top number is EMF. So that measures electromagnetic fields. So if there's anything interrupting that's not a parking meter or our cell phones or anything man-made, this thing will kind of give me that signal and I'll be able to debunk what's going on around us. Last but not least, it actually has a REM pod built in. What does that mean? It's a motion detector. So it creates an EMF field around the antenna. So if something gets close to it, I'm going to point it downward so you guys can just hear it because it's really bright. So if something breaks that field, it's going to go off. The closer it gets, the higher those sounds are going to go. So again, it's super bright. I didn't want to flash anybody. It's super annoying on your audio, so I leave it off until I feel like we actually might have something going on.
Makes sense.
And that way you guys see how it's already going to point 2. I get excited over point 4, but I know just for a fact that our crosswalks and our crosswalk signs and our parking meter electrical lines are underneath the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. So when we're walking up East Bay Street, I don't even look at that stuff. Mm-hmm. Do I have a more sensitive EMF meter? I do. It gets people really excited. I normally hand it to a little kid because it's flashy blinky blinkies and oh my god, it's going off. Yes, let's figure out what's happening before we get excited that it's an actual ghost. So it's really cool stuff, but this measures it in a much different way and it's a little bit more accurate. Mm-hmm. The other one's just super sensitive. So this guy's just going to stay in my side pocket until we get ready to go. Questions, comments, concerns? You had no idea what you were getting into. Is this what you thought you were getting into?
Sure, yeah. Let's learn some stuff.
So we start here on purpose, of course. I know, and I got way more stuff. So
we need Michael. Like
he would like
our
this.
son would love it.
So I have laser grids to help us see things that we can't see with the naked eye.
Yeah.
I use a full thermal, or not full. It's an infrared full spectrum camera. So like there's lots of stuff in here to help us debunk what's actually happening. One thing I won't do is I won't make things up. If something's a stretch, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a stretch. You know, I'll just be flat out honest with you. But we start here because this place used to be called Big John's way back in the day. So in the 1950s and 1970s, Big John was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. So he used to sit in the back room. He would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel if they were old enough to drink or not. And one night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. Big John tells the bartender to get them out of there. So he does. They leave pretty pissed off. They come back the next night and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the room. Big John sees what's happening. Obviously, a little bar brawl breaks out between John and the 2 fellas. A couple of shots were fired. John gets hit in the neck, and the bullet ricochets and lands in the wall. So John gets up, goes back to the bar, looks at the bartender and says, "Get me another beer and get them guys an ambulance." John's the one that got shot, and nobody died. So what's haunting the place? Guesses?
The bartender, I don't know. The bullet.
The bullet hole, exactly. So the bullet hole is allegedly still here. So with John's blood in it and attached to the building, there's only EMF that I get in the front of the bar from time to time. That's a good thing. We don't always want the exact same thing every single time you walk in there. So people that sit in the front of the bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, headaches, just those kind of light symptoms. I don't say this to scare you, but if you guys are feeling any of those things, this is the reason why I tell this story first. I need to know immediately. Like, it's a big deal. And I won't lie when I say that people have actually passed out from my dream. So I don't want you guys to feel like this is going to get you sick, but it could give you a little headache just because some of the haunting places that we're going to.
That's crazy.
Welcome to my life. Here's what I will tell you. Because of my occupation and my profession and the things that I obviously believe in, everything you guys are touching has already been sitting in my bag that has stones that keep all the paranormal activity grounded. Don't think I haven't gone home with things because I'm the epileptic. I'm the weak-minded one of every group. If you guys were to bring somebody with you, they're going home with me. It happens almost every single time. So there are times where I can't drive when I get back to my car. So my wife calls some psychic friends of mine, send Nick some stuff. We got to get his equipment pretty much blessed.
All right.
So
Now you're scaring her.
sorry.
We're all
It's not a
good.
scary story. So let's talk about other things that aren't really helpful, right? So this building, we had a big earthquake here in 1886. So if you didn't know that, you do now. It's a big one because we don't have earthquakes because this is Charleston. It was a 7 point something on the Richter scale based on the damage. The Richter scale wasn't invented yet. But the mantle that's above your heads, a piece of it broke off in the front of the building, fell off, and apparently struck somebody in the head. And that was the first death from that earthquake. So, and I say allegedly because I don't have any proof. So those are just kind of like old wives' tales that I hear through the grapevine. And also the previous owner used to see like black shadows out here after dark, like after closing. So after he closed the bar, it's 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, he's walking out to his car and he would see some shadows out of the corner of his eye. So take that for what it's worth. So, you guys ready to go ghost hunt and actually find some stuff?
Let's do it.
Krista, you up for this?
I was feeling really creeped out sitting in front of the
Were you?
place.
Sorry, just making sure people... I get messages in the middle of the night, like during my tours. Do you have any room? Do you have any room? Like, sorry, I'm already on the go. There you go.
Somebody can join us. That's okay. We're good with that.
I don't think I want to go through the whole spiel again. Not to mention those last-minute people, like, they're in a rush.
Oh.
And I'm not a guy that, like, watches time. I'm not like, all right, guys, your 90 minutes is up. This is what we're done.
Yes,
You know, I'm that guy that, like, if we have activity, we have activity.
you tell me if I'm doing something wrong.
Oh, you're on it, babe. You got it. Double fisting.
Inherent.
What does it say?
Inherent.
Inherent.
Probably part of the 80%. So I want you guys to think of your entire time with me as kind of like a training course. Okay? So this is our novice level. This place does have some history. It's just not a long history. And it's really a place for me to really get into deep dive with you. Normally when I have a group of 10, I just bounce around from each person until everybody's good to go on their devices and then we move on. That first little intro is just to get the devices in your hands.
Got it.
So, welcome to the Red Barn Lot. This is where we keep your horses for your carriage rides. The horses are inside, so we don't have any lasers, so I don't have to give that warning, but we do have a loud spirit box. We want to keep it audible to us only. We don't want to spook them. They don't like that white noise. So if we end up getting too close to those windows up there, they will kick the barn, and if you wanted that jump scare, that's the way to get it. So,
you don't want to scare them.
nope. Let's talk about your spirit boxes. This is not TV. This is not, is somebody here? Because if somebody says no, first off, that means somebody's here, right? Because they answered you. So, that joke's all night, folks. But if you hear a real estate commercial and the word houses comes through, you think you heard yes, just because S and O are two of our most common sounds in English language. So, again, I'm the writer, just take it for my word. But we're going to stay away from yes and no questions all night long. There's always a way to reword a question. So, literally, we're going to start off with answers you already know. We can all agree that the barn is red, correct? Nobody here is colorblind? I'm not offending?
Good. Yep.
Okay, so we're going to basically ask open air if anybody's here with us, including anybody from Big John's teammates, because they'd like to come through too, please tell me what color the barn is. We're going to wait and we're going to listen for the color red, or something that is specifically red, like a fire truck, or a heart, blood, any of those things that are specifically red. So again, I want you to think of this as kind of like Bumblebee. What's it say? capacity. Kind of think of the red spirit box as kind of like Bumblebee from Transformers. Did you guys see that movie?
Yeah.
Where he talked through the radio? It's the same principle. So it's the easiest way to explain it. In the event we don't get an answer after a couple of tries, we're going to try something a little bit more broad. What's inside the barn? We have animals. We know they're horses. They're draft horses, so the word draft could come up. The history of this place is that this is where we held horses that delivered milk and eggs to Charleston residents. So eggs, delivery, milk, so calcium and protein can come up as well. This is really about putting those clues together. Remember I mentioned the escape room?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I mean. So I'm always thinking outside the box, and I'll always say, what's on our list? What's on our list? I'm going to annoy you with it all night long, just because I want to see if I can piecemeal anything together. I also don't get excited with one thing going off unless it is very detailed.
I'm trying to figure out which way to turn it so I'm not loud with him. I went the opposite way.
So in the event that you hear a number on there, for example, let's say you hear the number 44, and then a few minutes later you hear, come to my art class, out of a radio commercial. The number 44 relates to Art Fair Cloth, who played with Big John. That was his jersey number. So do you see how I always kind of look for two different clues?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always trying to tie two different things together. I'll always try to keep the EMF, at a quick range to kind of see where we're at, because that could be thing number one, and then number 44 is the second thing. So again, it might be somewhat of a stretch, but 44 and art will definitely go together. Even though we heard come to my art class, it's a little slowed down, so it's going to pick up words before and after. So I'm always going to be, even if you hear a phone number, for example, last night we heard 6973. So 97 makes sense in the location of where we were, because Anne Bonny, the female pirate I'll tell you about later, was born in 1697.
Okay.
So 6973 makes complete sense.
Okay.
So I took the 97 out of it. Let's turn that thing up and let's see how you do. Well, I guess I should give you a little bit more. I'll show you on the next location. I think you got the gist of that so far, right? You're looking for blue and black spots to move on their own. You want to try to keep one person in view at all times. I already did the bleed out wall thing with you, so let's turn your spirit box up. Let's see what we get. Let's see what you can hear. And I'll bring up my EMF to see where the hot spots are. This is not one of them. So, we just went up to 0.4. We're down to 0.1. So I'm going to move, because this is ghost hunting. It's not go stand still. And I'm going to try to find a spot where it's going to be at least a whole digit. Like try to get it up to 1, so that way we can actually get some kind of activity.
Two 2.5.
2.0 and 0. 2.3, 0.
So that means some electronic waves are coming through that area, right?
Yeah, but with what I just said, 2.5 then 0, 2.3 then 0, 2.0 then 0, that's a pattern. Like I can almost feel the interval of like how many seconds it was in between, so it's almost like it's something man-made. It's probably coming from that building. I don't know that it's going to be that strong, but right now I'm sitting at 0.8 to 0.5. It's kind of going all over. I always look for patterns. Patterns usually mean, like if it's giving me a pulse or a rhythm, it's usually from something man-made. When it's kind of going all over the place, like if it went from like 2 to 15, then back down to 6, and then 14, like that's all over to me. So I'm always going to be looking at, because I know how to read the other one pretty well, just based on the lights, but I also know what those measurements are based on each LED light that's going to pop out of it. And so I've learned how to read this one pretty quickly just because of the measurements. So I know like 2.3 to 0, 2.5 to 0, like that's a rhythm to me. So it's not always going to be exact. You could turn that up a little bit if you want to.
So how does this register words? So if a ghost wanted to say something, would it like put it on the screen? Is that what's happening here?
That's exactly what it's going to do. So
okay.
I'm going to go ahead and hold it still. So just to give you a gist, there's 9,111 words in its vocabulary.
Can you hear me?
And there are still certain things that I will come up, and I've been using this thing for probably 5 years, this upgraded version. And the free version only gives you like 1,200 words. It's not very much at all. But 9,000 words, and Logan showed up here last night. I'm just saying. So And I looked up all of Big John's teammates from every year that he played, and there was no Logan. So there's got to be another Logan tag here somewhere. It's just
Did you
weird.
say it just said, "Can you hear me"?
Twice.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Just say, "Can you hear me"?
Still vague, but at least it's a conversation. So there is no Logan that played with Big John. So I don't know what that other Logan might be. It could have been a stable boy that I can't find. Do you know what I'm saying? Through research. So I have no idea why Logan, and I'm literally not joking.
Where do these words, where are they coming from?
So it says that it's sweeping all the FM radio stations, just like what she's listening to now, and just pulling out random words of what it recognizes. It's meant to be a game, so it could be silent and not do anything. Great. That might actually be relevant to our next location. But it could be, the reason why I use this guy and the reason why this gives me anything relevant is because I'll still see stuff where it's like, there's no way. Like, for example, there's one of the people I'll talk about later on was in the Battle of Camden, okay? Camden showed up in that location, and then I had the word battle. He was the leader of that battle. Like, I can't make that up. Like, that's not a coincidence to me. So when I get things that are that specific, and Camden is a name, you know, and every once in a while I'll get a little kid named Camden on my tour. I'm like, great, if the word Camden comes up, he's going to think it's about him, you know, but again, there's 9,000 words in there. I have no idea what's going to come up. It's meant to give us stuff to try to scare us because it's making it a scary thing. Like sometimes you might see bloodbath and Satan and all kinds of weird, stupid stuff, and I'm like, this is part of the 80% crap. I want the stuff that's really specific. I want it to be relatable to the stories I'm telling. And I've learned things from this. So you will hear on the next story, and I'll even tell you which part of it was, but somebody, like, this thing gave me enough to be able to research further, and it was a fact about the person I normally talk about that I didn't even know. So it was kind of like an eye-opening experience for me, like, holy crap, really? And it happens all the time. So what do you think now? A little different than what you thought, huh?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I like to see things. Cool.
And let's go learn some real history. And the reason why I like to bring people here with the thermal imaging is because we have all different types of material in here. We have metal, we have asphalt, we have wood, foliage, vehicles, rubber. You know what I mean? That way you get to kind of see all of the different types of material and how the temperature fluctuates within each device. So that heaviness on the back of it is just a battery charger glued to the OtterBox to keep the camera charged. Because it's only meant to last for an hour.
Yeah. Do what?
Not a person over there.
Oh, no, I'm looking at the gadget.
No, he's fine. He's checking
There's
it out. He's
fire
looking at my
right
work.
Fire.
But in the winter and fall, I do 2 tours a night, so I need it to last more than an hour.
Yeah.
So.
Is this an iPhone or something, or?
No, that's actually a Samsung 8. I tried putting that camera on a tablet to have something much more tangible for you guys. It gives a shitty picture. Like it just slows down everything. And it's not good. All right, let's find us a good spot again. I told you this wasn't sightseeing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're gonna go today. Only, just keep in mind, like that's the only in and out. Like that's the only way you can get in and out. I don't create ghosts on my tours. Nobody's gonna die, so people like to fly in here. We'll go over there.
Okay.
So, welcome to the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion site. Obviously, it's just a parking lot now, but this is where their mansion was. We are standing probably, well, actually, this is where the carriage house was. But the mansion actually faced East Bay Street, and we met 1 block that way, just so you guys know. We just kind of did a little so Eliza's garden was lined up with that first tree that we see from here and went all the way across, and then the servant and slave quarters were in the back where that last row of cars is. Now that you have the layout of the land, who the hell were these people? So Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles and a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew were signers of our Constitution. Pretty big deal for us because obviously this is where the son was raised. We have
puncture.
Puncture. The sea looks weird, like it looks faded. Is it faded on your end?
Yeah, the C's definitely different than.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, I've seen that word before. I just never noticed that the C, the middle letter was off. Maybe it's just from where I swipe it every night. Who knows? I don't like politics, so we're not going to talk about the Constitution, okay? I'm not going to bore you with that. Let's talk about Eliza. She was way cooler anyway.
Eliza.
Not to mention, last month was Women's History Month. Did you all know that?
Yep.
So, I was pride myself on this story because nobody ever talks about Eliza Pinckney on a ghost tour, so, because nobody comes out this way.
Okay.
So, Eliza, he's checking you out still. Just letting you know. You can see your skeleton. So, Eliza married Charles at a young age. So you guys knew the answers over there because it was Red Barn, horses, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you answers here. You're going to get them from your spirit boxes.
Okay.
So I'm not going to tell you how old she was when she married Charles, nor am I going to tell you how old Charles was. So that could be one of your questions. But she married him because her father over in England thought he was dying. And he wanted all his kids home to see for one last time, and she didn't want to go. She got married instead. It didn't give her citizenship because this was colonial times. There was no such thing as citizenship yet. But it basically said, hey, Dad, I'm not going anywhere. So she was right. Dad got better. And once she proved that, she was right, Dad starts sending over wedding gifts. One of those gifts happens to be the plant indigo. So if you know anything about South Carolina, we have a lot of indigo crops. This is literally where it started as far as it becoming a cash crop. It was already here because of our gullah culture with the slaves. So she had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated in our weird temperatures because it does get cold down here. So when she learned all of that and experimented with it, she moved it over to Snee Farm in Mount Pleasant, calls Dad and says, hey, I need some contacts. This stuff's going to be expensive. I need to start selling. So he gives her the contacts. Boom. She's a businesswoman in the middle of the 1700s when there was no such thing as a businesswoman. Her husband was a politician. So lots of money coming through this household. Eliza's done a lot of things for our country and the colonies during that time, but I'm just kind of touching the surface so that way you guys can play with the spirit boxes. Now, there's a lot of weird questions, a lot of weird facts about her. So the first one is Eliza, the one I just spoke of, was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. So he married an Eliza, divorced her, married this Eliza. They both go by their maiden name, so that way they don't get confused. They both start with the letter L. That's all I'm going to tell you. You can ask anything you want to about Eliza's death. How old she was, what did she die from, where is she buried, where did she die, and which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. That's the fact I didn't know that the spirit boxes taught me. So I gave you the kind of the time frame, so you might have some guesses in your head. But again, it could have been a president that wasn't a president yet, so I'm not going to give you all of those clues. A lot of people go after that one first because they want to know. Let's see, you can ask what happened to the mansion. It's obviously not here anymore. And what else was here? So obviously there were things here.
So you want us to say those questions?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Out loud.
Yeah. So out loud to the parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened to
Wait,
the
I have
mansion
to
that
turn
used
up
to be
my-
here?
I have to turn up my thing.
But these are the kinds of questions that I'm just giving you some examples of things to ask, of things that will prove like Eliza's hanging out with us and she's actually talking to us. It's a lot better of an experience when you hear from the spirit themselves how old they were when they got married. Oh, I was such and such an age. Instead of my tour guide told me that Eliza was such and such an age when she got married. It's
Yeah.
a much different experience when you hear from the ghosts themselves. And we got the word chance. So turn up that spirit box, start asking your questions. If you're weird from the teacher being around, I can gladly walk away so you guys can play with it to see what kind of answers you get. Some people are weird about me hanging around and kind of, helping out. But
You're good. Aim. This is the aim.
Aim what?
Ask the
and I'm at
question.
1.4. You guys can't see that. 1.7.
So what happened to the mansion?
We're not disturbing anybody here. You can turn it up a little bit. They're just on break. They're good.
Oracle?
That's probably the 80%.
What was the other question I was supposed to ask?
How old was she when
How-
she got married?
How old was married?
That sounds really
How
interesting.
old were you when you got married?
How old were you?
He's already asked it.
These things to be helpful. Philip Rivers, who do Marjorie Sedation.
How does it feel to be a second wife?
Can't prove feelings.
That's true.
Can't prove feelings?
No, you gotta say, what's the question
Data
about?
and facts. So things I can prove.
We're really bad at speaking.
See, I'm thinking yes or no. I just keep thinking of yes or
Always
no.
a way to reword it. So which one of the yes or no questions do you have? I just heard alive. Beer? Neither one of us has a beer. And none of the kids had a beer either.
Questions. Too many questions.
Pallbearer.
I'll reword them. The pallbearer one?
Yeah.
Who was the No, can we say that?
What
Who was
president was the pallbearer
At
at your funeral? Did he have a beard?
It's like playing Guess Who, right? You have glasses. Did he have... Did he wear a wig?
What president? JFK concert? That ain't real.
I just heard the number 15. It's not relevant, but I heard the number 15.
I heard Bible and exercise.
Bible makes sense.
Bible makes sense.
She actually studied the Bible quite a bit with her friends.
There's a 7.
There's a 7.
Part of the age that she was when she died.
Part of the age. Give us more to your age. And we still want that pallbearer. What president?
I'm gonna find out.
Town.
This is fun.
Talk about it. You gotta ask a question. Does he know what he's doing?
What kind of music did you like?
About our country.
Oh, they're noble.
You may not need them.
We may not meet them.
We eat pizza.
They don't eat pizza. What kind of food do you like? Minutes. 7 minutes. How many children did you have? Can you tell us these things? I really need to pay attention to this.
We better keep our first job, baby. We're not good at ghost hunting.
Oh. I still don't know the pallbearer thing.
No,
It was a
She's
president.
not answering
The
us.
president of what? He said JFK is all I got. 10 minutes and a
You
cross
said
and a
JFK.
Bible. That's what this thing said.
No way. It said JFK?
Yeah.
Well, this is way before JFK.
Right. So I'm saying it can't be him.
Up to speed with
Who was it?
cosmetics.com. You know everything.
You know everything.
Oh, well, clearly don't.
The wall.
What's he doing?
It's like flashing underneath.
But I
We gotta ask some questions beyond that pallbearer thing. She does not like that question. We don't have any children she has. We still have only
Oh, there you go.
7-digit
How many children?
television.
Any answers?
Random stuff.
So whenever we want to see that list, we leave the calendar next to it. So that way we can kind of take a look.
Logan?
Dope station? That makes no sense. Chance yard.
7-beard oracle.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So never hit clear, don't hit the red X's. It'll obviously take one word out at a time or get rid of the whole list. You always want to just circle back. Touchdown. We're still near Big John's.
What? It made noise.
It looked like you were flashing lights over there.
I was. So I'll use this as a question and answer session too. So I widen the range up so it doesn't take her to get so close to make it go off. So if I see a little blip, I'll widen the range up, and then I'll say, okay, Eliza, make it go back up to yellow. And then if it's on yellow and it stays there, I'll say make it go back to green, walk away from it, kind of test the waters to see if she's actually paying attention. Obviously that's me. It has kind of a reset the balance.
Why would Eliza hang out here? Why would she stay?
This was her home. This was a mansion.
Well, but if she read the Bible, then she should be in heaven, right?
Whatever her belief is. Whatever your belief is. My belief is there's a constant movement. You can go back, you can hang out where you once were. I don't know. That's why I do this. So I don't follow a religion. So it's a matter of whatever happens, happens.
So no unfinished business to cross over.
I would say definitely no unfinished business from her.
Okay.
That's not me moving.
Well, I got JFK from my little box, but I know that
Yeah, it's
president
definitely
was
not
there for the pallbearer. We asked if she had any children and how many, or how
Okay.
many children she had.
Okay.
What kind of food she liked, and
Well, here's the
All
odd
that
thing is
stuff.
at this location, I've actually had, I'll turn this down a little bit, an EVP come through a reverse spirit box. It's a different type of spirit box. Basically, it's words being said, and then they flip the audio backwards. So if anything comes in forward motion, you can actually hear it pretty clearly. Well, the phrase that I got was baked beans breakfast. Your red spirit box, the next morning when I looked at it, said, I'll fix you, and then I had the word tea show up right here. So I'll fix you, baked beans breakfast, and tea. She's from England.
Oh.
So that's a breakfast over in England. And when I say it was a disembodied EVP, like it was a voice. It wasn't a radio station. That particular spirit box doesn't work that way. So when it came through as baked beans breakfast, it was a definitive voice. I've also had another disembodied voice, and now we're spiking now that I'm talking about it. Another disembodied voice come through that basically said, just leave us alone. And it was not radio chatter. It went over 11 different radio stations. So when I came back the next night, I said, look, Pinckney family, I come here 6 nights a week. You keep giving me stuff, and I'm going to keep coming back and bringing folks out to learn about you. You've got some great stuff. So, again, I'm not here on a scary tour.
Right.
I don't want those, leave us alone kind of stuff. Like, I'm not after that. I'm after legitimate evidence. So
Yeah, having fun for the conversation.
exactly. German doesn't mean anything here. Definitely not.
So let's talk about food.
Yeah.
What's your favorite dessert?
The only proof you would have is if you actually heard a dessert or a dessert came up. I can't prove it,
Right.
but it would be a legitimate answer.
Yeah.
Because you asked specifically what's your favorite dessert, not what your favorite food is. Food's a little broad.
yeah.
Oh, we gotta stay broad. I gotta stay broad.
No, I
No,
want you to ask those
specific.
specifics.
Specifically.
Yes.
We want specific.
Want
Yes.
specific.
Like favorite ice cream. Or favorite tea. She likes tea.
There's probably only one really
Crumpets.
type of tea.
Oh. That's true.
We're not
Eggs.
real good at this, obviously.
She likes eggs.
You just have to lead us.
We were just talking about breakfast.
We were talking about breakfast and trying to figure out. Maybe her favorite dessert is eggs.
Not to mention, what did the horses deliver? And we're still pretty close to them, too. They delivered milk and eggs.
Oh, yeah. Goodbye. She's done with us.
Okay, so that's usually when I close it out. So if I get a definitive goodbye, that's when I say, all right, Eliza, I'll see you tomorrow night, and I start giving you guys answers. So let's start with the answers of what you guys didn't get. It wasn't JFK. It was George Washington. So George Washington was a pretty close friend of the family. Go ahead.
We also had Noble. Like Noble. What was the other thing? There was interesting things.
Listen to me or something like that.
I don't know.
So some of the terms that show up, and I've had George Washington show up here twice. That's why I was kind of like, something's got to be going on with the Pinckneys and George Washington. I know he spent a lot of time here because the son was a governor at one point in time. and the husband was a Jeffersonian Republican. So Washington getting into presidency would have spent a lot of time with the Pinckneys because there was only 13 colonies. But we get words like apple, we get wood here because he had wooden dentures. Like anything related to George Washington, like when you like ask that question, it would definitely get some definitive answers. But an ironic thing was a few weeks ago, I had the name Denzel Washington come through on the Red Spirit box at this location. Remember, you're always going to get a word before or after of things we don't need. So first off, why would we be talking about Denzel Washington on the radio if we weren't meant to hear it? Because it's not like Denzel has a new movie out, right? So somebody was talking about him, we got his full name, I'm going to take that as a definitive answer. I was super stoked. Like, that's legitimate evidence to me. Eliza died at the age of 70, so I was waiting for the word T to come up somewhere because you already had the number 7. So I can tie 7 to T, 70, when she died. So those are and I've seen that happen here before. That's why I was kind of like, all right, let's see if she does it again. And she died from breast cancer that we know of because that was in 1793. So we didn't have breast cancer yet. We didn't even know what cancer was. So we're going based off the medical records that's what she had and that's what she died from. And it was also in Philadelphia, which is also where she's buried. So again, if that hopefully answers your question of why we don't visit cemeteries on a Stories in a Cemetery tour, because you're walking through one giant one, for one, because there's so much tragedy here. But second, if you were dead, are you going to hang out where you're buried? Probably not. You're probably going to go to places that you loved. So, again, based on your belief system, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah,
so,
no, it makes sense.
But let's see, what else happened here? The mansion did burn down in 1861, so the house was still within the family. So the words fire, ash, black, those kind of things show up here all the time as well when you ask about that. And even the number 61 has showed up of what happened to the mansion, 61. So it tells you about the Great Fire of 1861. Are you guys doing other tours while you're in town?
We just did the horse carriage one was on.
Okay, so you probably heard of a Great Fire, I'm sure, because there's
We
a...
heard that, Earth.
Really? Probably heard of the earthquake I talked
Yeah.
about, because the
Yeah,
carriage
but-
store does talk about that a
I'm
lot.
trying to think about a fire. I don't know about
But
that.
we've had dozens.
Oh, because we went past the fire station and the insurance and whatever.
The reason why I say that is because Charleston's had dozens of great fires.
Yeah.
It's always the great fire of whatever year it happened in. I don't ever know the causes of them because there's so many. But this one in particular, I know went from Peninsula Coast all the way to Peninsula Coast. This building just happened to be in the way. So the only pictures we have of the Pinckney Mansion of after the fire, we do have a description of it from a family friend that visited often in one of the daughter's books. So it was very interesting to read because the wife and I, who does obviously things for my business too, we want to open up a shop where we sell ghost hunting equipment and have a haunted hotel upstairs and, sell books on the paranormal. We would love to have this plat of land so that way we can actually rebuild the Pinckney Mansion site and kind of dedicate it to Eliza and with the things that she's done for the colonies. So that would be really cool. I just don't have 20 million sitting in the bank. They've never done an archaeological dig here. So again, the EMF that I had was going off a little bit. There was no reason for that, no logical reason anyway. So
I bet a house would be way better than ours.
well, they were actually supposed to put a commercial hotel here last year, but COVID obviously pushed all that stuff back. So who knows what's going to happen to this lot now. If they do put up a building here, this honestly is one of my most active spots. So it's going to be I might have to twist some things around on the route so I'm not disturbing them. I do love to tell the story though, because nobody else does. This is the point where we're actually going to walk up East Bay Street about 4 blocks. So it's up to you to mask up or not. I'm going to.
Okay.
Just so you guys know. But again, completely your call. I'm not offended. Just up to you. Just want to let you know we're heading towards I'm sorry, I've been watching your word list the whole time.
And then why does it change colors? What's the colors?
It's for the aesthetic.
Okay, just
Again,
make it
if
pretty.
and it makes growling noises and beeps and all kinds of stuff. I just have the volume turned down. Again, if that thing were sitting in my apartment, which is not haunted, it would still pull up a word every 2 to 3 minutes or so. So again, it's going to kick out random words at intervals and then kind of take it from there.
And it's picking it up over airways. I'm still trying to understand what that thing
a lot
does.
of people have a lot of questions about that. And again, like right now, it says it's going through all the FM radio stations, and all of the numbers you see are supposed to be like the dialed-in number, like through whatever government transmitter. So again, it's all aesthetic. It's just going to spit out a random word from time to time. Just think of it almost like on a timer. It's going to pull a word out of that 9100 vocabulary list and give it to us on the screen. My theory is that the spirit world can manipulate that and say, I want to tell them this right now, instead of the word that it wants to give us. So
Gotcha.
it's basically giving us the word. So when I get my skeptics on my tour and I know about it, which I don't want to know if you guys are skeptics, but if somebody openly admits, I pull them aside and pull this thing out. I'm like, hey, Charles Pinckney, do us a favor. I have somebody here that doesn't believe that you're actually here. Put your name on the screen. Boom. I've done it 3 times now in the past 2 years, and it freaks everybody out. So it's really cool stuff. But music. They would have had a music room. It would have probably been back in that corner, closer to where that tree is.
I actually asked what kind of music did you like.
Oh, did you?
Uh-huh.
That's interesting.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
But we didn't get a specific answer. We just got the
No.
word music.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm not listening very well to my
Yeah.
box.
And that's okay because I'm talking a lot, which is okay because we're recording it.
Right.
That one's just as fun. And again, this is one that's hard to hear. So unless you have it cranked up.
Right.
So what I will tell you is, like, tomorrow morning when I'm going through your data, first off, I don't do it all. That takes away the fun from you guys. I just kind of give you a few markers to look at on different things, of things that I found, and obviously if they're relevant. But during this time from here to Lodge Alley, and the time that we spend in there, which won't be a lot of time because it's a quiet area, I'm listening for names. I'll explain why once we get there, but with just the 3 of us, we're probably going to be chatting, so you probably won't have it turned up. But yeah, obviously keep filming, and we're going to go see some cobblestones. You guys hip to that?
All right.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Go around. We're going to go around the front.
They like him, so we should film him, not me.
What's that?
I said they probably like you, but he should film you and not me.
I just like seeing
all
y'all
he needs
hot.
is a base temperature.
I know.
So. It's a pretty interesting lifestyle I lead, right?
Yeah.
How many nights a week do you do this?
6.
Really? Oh,
Yep.
you did mention that earlier, didn't you?
Yep.
6 nights.
And then Monday nights I kind of save reserve for if I get any like crazy bridal parties or whatever on their last hurrah.
Yeah.
And of course I charge them extra because they're going to be drunk and beer's expensive. There's no discounts on that tour.
We are very quiet people, so it's hard to come up with questions.
That's right. We're
So you're
listeners.
quiet.
We're both listeners.
I mean, I've had groups that are literally like, don't say a word the whole time. Like, you guys are actually doing just fine.
They may not appreciate whatever you're doing to their dog.
It's nice to see the markets open again.
Yeah.
We just opened it up a few weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, so during the daytime, it was open. You had to go to the outside windows. We can go. You had to go to the outside windows to go to the vendors. 'Cause They had to push their tables out, and then they blocked off the middle entrance, so you couldn't walk all the way through it.
Okay.
So it was COVID friendly.
Uh-huh.
But it was like no restriction or anything like that.
Just get some time to relax. Not think about real life.
Yes, it was all.
Was the view worth it?
Yeah.
I mean, you could see it.
It's super loud, and I almost have to like cup over the audio because what happens is when I send it over to YouTube and there's actual music that they recognize, they'll make me cut that part of the video out. So that's why I usually have a conversation right here, because that way if it's just the music, it does it every time. So it's so weird. It just started doing that a few
That's how
months
you
ago.
breathe.
I don't want to do any more editing. Like, I just want to cut it, put my logo at the beginning and send it over. This is perfect temperature too. This
Oh, it's nice tonight.
was
Yeah.
chilly last night. So
Yeah, it was.
I wore long sleeves tonight thinking it was going to be the same temperature, and it's actually like 8 degrees warmer than it was last night. Yeah, this is perfect. Sorry, I keep cutting in front of you.
You're good.
All right.
No, but I will say that I am kind of
I'm the guy that knows how much going.
we had to park a long ways away. We were all the way up on Broad and whatever, a church up on Broad. It's like, yeah, we searched forever to try to find a parking space.
I gave you the ending point too, right?
Yeah, but I don't know where. I mean, I didn't look to see where that was, so I didn't really know where that was.
You tried, right?
I did, yeah. I just started doing like the starting point and ending point just because everybody asks me about parking, especially on the weekend. I pay for a garage because I got tired of fighting co-sponsors.
Yeah.
So we know what you guys want. It's brutal around here trying to find a spot.
Assault.
We got salt.
That's scary.
So when you guys get your data back tomorrow, all the tools and all the apps and stuff that I use regularly are all at the top of the page.
Uh-huh.
Everybody asks me where I get my stuff. We're gonna make it right. Why? Because it's usually empty.
Remind me what the story is with the cobblestones here. Didn't they come over on ships or something like that?
They did. They're made out of clay. They're handmade, hand laid. You can see that none of them are the same size, shape.
Yeah.
They're not evenly spaced. The misnomer about this alley is that the 3 rows in the center, 3 columns rather,
Yeah.
are because it's the exact latitude of Charleston, and that's wrong. It's just for drainage.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's really not a whole lot here besides the fact that they did do an archaeological dig on these bricks in between certain areas to try to find out more about the stuff I'm about to tell you. Yeah, anyway, they do that. But for a small group, we'll make it. But people used to live here. So I have the list of names of every person that ever lived here. And these are the original bricks.
Okay.
So I have their occupation, the year that they lived here, and what their address was. And it wasn't much as far as like how many people lived here. But the names I commonly get, I usually stop right around here, just so I can kind of give you the gist. But the names that commonly come up are Benjamin and John. It doesn't sound very like significant, but there were 4 different Johns that lived here, and only one Benjamin. And Benjamin and John Johnson both lived here in 1801, and they were 2 out of 5 people that lived here. So that's 40% of the people that lived here. So that's pretty accurate when I get those 2 names together.
Yeah.
So I usually get pretty excited about that. I've gotten John's last name, Johnson, to try to prove that that was the right one in the same night. So Benjamin, John, and then Johnson came up. Sorry, this is where the epilepsy comes in because I talk too much.
Oh no.
No, I'm good. I'm perfectly fine. I just get a little winded, especially walking and talking at the same time. So the Masons also used to meet down here, so we get the word masonry a lot. This is Lodge Alley because it was a Masonic lodge. The place behind me is the Lodge Alley Inn, and it's named obviously after this particular street. Now, this is one of the first streets we ever had. The last crosswalk that we bolted over, that was where the original Charlestown Wall was. So this was one of the original streets, obviously just wide enough for horse and buggy. So the Charlestown Wall went down Cumberland, and we're going to go back to Cumberland, so I'll point it out again so it makes more sense. But across East Bay Street was where the other side was that went down towards the Battery, and then it came down past the Powder Magazine, which that's where we're going to end up. I'll point it out again. But the smell of low tide would have been coming through here a lot. So just because those buildings down there wouldn't have been there, the water was there. When it came over the wall, as far as the smell, and then people that lived here were lower class. They did find that out through the dig that I told you about. Tools, silverware, clothing, evidence of fires, all kinds of stuff came out of that dig. It's like a 150-page report. It's crazy. So, in the event we get anything that comes out of your evidence there that I can link back to, obviously I'll send you the report and what page to look up where, like, the specific term it came up, whether it was somebody's name, the Masonic Lodge, or any of the evidence that they found in between the bricks. So, again, tourists, I always bring through at least one cobblestone area. What happens from here is we're going to cut across the right side of the car because that's where more space is. But then we're going to be in a neighborhood. So we're going to be 3 friends because tour guides aren't allowed to be tour guides in neighborhoods until we get to our next spot. So once we get to our next spot, it's kind of like the legends and lore around Charleston. And then we're going to do one big final investigation at the Powder Magazine. You can if you want. But then we kind of really dive into the Powder Magazine and that female pirate that I was telling you about.
Okay.
But I always like to kind of give the legends and lore, especially to the people coming through town. But, you know, and even some of the locals are like, I never heard that story. I'm like, everybody knows that story. So we'll kind of go up there, and it's a very popular area. So I'll do my best to keep my mask on. Again, you guys free will, do whatever you want. I'm not worried. So any terms come up that I need to know about?
Just the word
assault.
assault still
So
stays.
apparently they don't want to talk to us. down here. So we'll see what comes up out of your red spirit box when I listen to that in the morning. Any weird spots that you've seen? Anything moving around?
I don't know what I'm looking for. I just keep checking my wife out.
Switch. Maybe I'll talk to you.
Maybe that might be smart.
I got it. I don't mind.
Maybe not when
Whatever's
I'm
gonna make you
walking
guys have fun.
across things.
Yeah, just watch your step.
Should be listening.
How long are you guys down here for?
We're gonna leave Monday morning.
So just kind of like a weekend trip?
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I got a few weekends planned. We're gonna go up to see the in-laws, so we haven't seen them in a while. So we'll be in Pittsburgh. And then, bless you.
Thank you.
And then
That's why I wasn't responding to you. I had a sneeze coming.
yeah, we'll call him. You know, my little silver person, yellow for me. And I got an investigation in St. Augustine, Florida. That's in September. So the wife has my call plan. I can't remember what it was. Because we're all over the place. You know I gotta bring the gear. I need more podcast episodes. So
Yeah, you'll have to connect me in with your podcast. I like listening to podcasts.
it's actually at the top of your data page. Any
Yeah.
question that most people ask, like where can you get my books, the podcast, the gear, where to leave reviews, and all my
Courage.
contacts.
We're supposed
all
to
my
encourage him.
right? But you guys will also have my contact info, so that way in case you guys find more that you want me to check out, adding
Yeah.
all your data, you can call, text, email, whatever you need to do. You know, you just have to tell me what the date of your tour was so I know which set of data I'm looking at. So,
We don't.
have you guys been down this alley? So, I can't take you down there because it's a no tour zone.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you the story that's actually going on down here because I get a lot of evidence from it. But this is Philadelphia Alley. This is the prettiest spot we have in all of Charleston. So daytime or nighttime,
I've been down there. Yeah.
it's gorgeous down there.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually made the new neighbor mad, and now no tours.
Uh-oh.
So this is where I had to reroute things and kind of make the rest of this work. I was like, oh, I guess I better go to the popular areas then, tell those stories. 'Cause there's a lot that goes on in this corner. I'm sure you've been up, you know, because this is Church Street.
Yeah,
coming up.
yeah.
Average.
Yeah, we're walking back towards where we parked. Up this way.
Well, that's good. My garage is on this street. Like,
Oh, there
we
you go.
end on these four corners here.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So,
Good.
yeah, you guys,
We're close then.
yeah, so you'll probably end up going that way, right? You said,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like Broad Meeting, is that where you're at?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So, yeah, you're close. Yeah, you're probably on a good, 5 to 7 minute walk. You guys keep a good pace.
Oh yeah, we can click it off. We've walked a lot. We've been to Magnolia Plantation today.
Oh,
And
nice.
we've been to Folly Beach today, and all over the place.
Magnolia was where I spent my wedding day.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't get married there, but that's where we went after, you know, we hooked up with the Justice of Peace. So I kind of stopped here because every other tour goes up there, and my stories are way cooler than theirs. So,
And we can sit down.
yeah, you can sit down. Everybody gets a break. See, you came here to work. I give you a little break. So usually the smokers come out. You know, they're having a good time. So that alley we walked past. So that's the wall to that alley behind you. You guys see the doorway in the distance there? I'm gonna make you get up. So that doorway is because that alley used to be called Dueller's Alley. So that's where duels used to occur. So we've heard this story before. Because we've been telling the same story for eons. But in the event there was a death from a duel, the person that died, their friends would pick them up, carry them through that gate, over this courtyard, over to the cemetery. They would drop the body and then go celebrate the winner. So that's kind of what that gate is there for. Of course, there wasn't a gate in there before. You guys can cut through. You're good. I see you're kind of determining which way to go.
Yeah, we're.
You're good. You're welcome.
Have a good night, you guys.
So, we all tell the same story of the same duel, and it's the duel of Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. He moved down here from Rhode Island. So, you can literally sit down. I'm good. Unless you don't want to sit and you're going to fall asleep.
No, I'm good.
My group last night was up, they were up since 3 that morning, and they were all yawning. I'm like, all right, we're going to cut this short because we only got one more stop to go. So we just spent more time over there because they were all sitting like yawning on me. But anyway, he moved down here from Rhode Island because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée Amanda. So these are all clues that can come up on our spirit boxes. So when stuff shows up, great. But Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. The attorney that was handling that money said, you're not getting married yet, send the doctor away. So the doctor moves to Charleston. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. We have yeah, nothing on that one. So a little vague. So he set him up.
Engagement and wedding is being a rock. Sorry, your story.
1800s, they probably weren't calling it a rock. My guess. But somebody passing by, seeing the whole robbery thing being set up, his name was Ralph Isaacs. He told the doctor, grab your bags, let me take you somewhere safe. You shouldn't be staying here. So he takes him to 59 Church Street. Again, we're on Church Street, so it's about half a mile to 3/4 of a mile that way. And the two become friends. So with that being said, the doctor's he's making all kinds of money at this point, and his business is starting to grow. And Amanda's going to be moving down soon, so he becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. So you can Google the Whistling Doctor and get all the nitty-gritty details. So when they go see plays together, because the doctor makes so much more money, they just sit in different seats. The doctor got way better seats than Ralph, because he's just a plain old attorney. He's from here. So one night they're walking home, they're talking about the play that they just went to go see, and the doctor loves the new actress. Ralph doesn't like her so much. They start arguing. Then Ralph starts insulting the fiancé back home. So they obviously get pissed off, they go their separate ways. Ralph, being from Charleston, calls a newspaper up and says, I need to put an ad in the paper. And it's about how the doctor is such a disgrace to the city of Charleston. The doctor sees it, rebuttals with, let's go down to Dueler's Alley and let's settle this. So they come down, they take their 20 paces, they turn. The doctor points his gun in the air and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to make a point. But Ralph, having his one bullet left, puts it in the kneecap of the doctor. So, of course, the kneecap shows up here a lot, too, so I'm waiting for that one. The doctor didn't die, so he didn't come through the death gate. Instead, his friends carried him home to 59 Church Street. That's the Thomas Rose house now. And it actually has a quick, where Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd used to stay, because he had a big memoir. I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, so he dies 10 days later, probably from bleeding out, because he's a doctor. It's 1800s. What did they do to heal themselves? They bled themselves to get rid of the infection. So he dies 10 days later, but they say as you walk through the alley, you can hear the whistles of the doctor and or gunshots. Do I have some whistles I can't debunk? I do. But I also have a lot of hecklers, because everybody in town knows the story. What I'll tell you also is if you're going to walk through there, and you guys are here at least another 2 days, if you walk through there, there's actually sun-dried bricks at the end, unrelated to the doctor story. Those bricks were actually sun-dried by slave kids, and you can see their fingerprints, and we have one full handprint right at the end, but it's right outside that mansion. So that's where I got in trouble with the new owner, because I had my group outside taking pictures, and he's like, you shouldn't be down here, this is residential, just like I told you.
Gotcha.
So I just stopped going there instead of rerouting it this way, and I could still tell the story, just kind of see what's going on. The story that he was telling, and we'll go up and take a look, and we'll be brief just because every tour ends there and drags out this story, but it's really simple. There's a sign inside the cemetery that says there's no ghost at St. Philip's but the Holy Ghost. The reason for that is in 1888, a young lady died by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. She died 6 days after her stillborn child. So, with that being said, 1987, we have a local photographer. He's taking pictures of all the cemeteries. He captures a full apparition of a woman wearing a shawl and a baby basket next to her. So, again, the whole point of this was they don't want people like me taking pictures and video trying to find an apparition. Do you guys see the light up in the distance? The kind of the yellow, it's shining through all those trees. That is actually facing out. So people like me or regular people know something. It doesn't affect my equipment, but it's to distract the equipment and to get weird blurs so that your pictures don't come out right. The whole point of this is the photographer sends this picture to Kodak, and nobody can debunk the picture because it's 1987. There's no Photoshop in cell phones, so we don't know what the hell's going on with it, and Kodak can't figure out what's going on with it. The picture's cursed. Females that hold the picture or handle the picture, even digitally, will start to get the same symptoms I told you about back at Big John's. pregnant females probably not going to have a good pregnancy. I'm not going to be the guy that gets a phone call 9 months from now because you two had a great vacation and all of a sudden something's wrong with the baby. Like, I'm not going to be that guy. So you want to look up the picture, and if we do get something on our spirit boxes that's related to that, I will put the heated caution warning that don't open this picture on your phone. So again, I'm that guy. So you want to open it, that's on you at that point. I gave you the warning. To get your mindset on pirates, what's up?
Nothing.
Just crazy stuff, huh? I know, right? This is my life. And the word no came up as soon as I brought up Sue Howard Hardy. So, and if I say her name is Susan by accident, she will correct me. She's done it several times. It's crazy. There's two sides of the cemetery. This is obviously the east side, and then the western side is for the people that aren't from Charleston. So this is native Charlestonians. That's for everybody else. Calhoun, he's buried over there. You can actually walk that graveyard during the daytime. His sarcophagus has been moved 3 different times, I think. They crossed him over the street because they didn't know which side he was supposed to go to. So just kind of an odd story. Right past the cemetery, you guys see the burning gas lamp up in the distance? So that is the pirate house, and this is kind of my transition to get you guys ready for your pirate investigation.
Okay.
The pirate house is where Blackbeard's men would come off the ships, and they would spend the night, meet with a few ladies, and have a place to sleep. But they also dug a tunnel underneath the pirate house 1 block over to Doctor Theater, which is the oldest theater in America. So why did they go to the theater? First off, there was prostitution there during the time, 1700s. But there was also a theater, so pirates can tie really good knots. So they actually go over there and they would work the cords and the drapes and the curtains, you know, for a few days while, you know, in between doing their trading with people that were here. So we know that that hole that they dug was real because they actually filled it in the 1990s. So it was fairly recent, it was about 30 years ago. So again, just really weird, interesting facts, things that could pop up on our spirit boxes, even though we're not specifically listening for it. These are the kind of clues I listen for in the morning, so that way I know what stories I told. I'm not telling the Nettie Dickerson story tied to Dock Street Theater to save time. I told you the, you know, because I've been getting so much evidence out of this one. That's a long story. This one's another long story. But I want to get you guys up and moving again.
All right.
He's like, let's do this. We got one last place to go.
No, that's good. It's good.
Noise.
Yeah, the other ghost tours I've been on, we actually walked down that alleyway, and then, you know, of course, we did that little area over there as well.
Yeah, and tours are like starting to sneak down there now. Like, I don't know how they're getting away with it. That guy's not coming out screaming, but I'm not taking a chance.
Yeah.
Again,
yeah.
I'm a private owner. I'm not these big corporations that probably has a handshake with this guy. So, remember when I told you about the Charlestown Walls?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is Cumberland Street where the Charlestown Wall was. Okay, so it went up, and this building we're going to look at is the powder magazine. That's the one with the crosses on it. But it went past the powder magazine about half a block and then started going down towards the battery. So it was literally tucked right in the corner of the Charlestown Walls on purpose. First off, those crosses are not crosses, they're earthquake bolts. So did your carriage ride person explain that? Did he tell you that those were the very first earthquake bolts that we put in?
No.
So you're going to see how crude they are once we get closer to the building. So I like to explain, did you guys even go past the powder magazine? Because they have different routes they have to take.
I don't know. There was one building where it was all cracked and it had those earthquake
Yeah, there was. It wasn't here, but
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
we did section 5 or whatever.
Well, yeah, because they literally draw where they're supposed to go.
Yeah, we
You know,
went
it's just
5.
weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I could do that. I like my routes and choosing what stories I'm going to tell.
Yeah.
But the powder magazine, it's 3 blocks away from where the water is on purpose. It's the furthest part away to not get attacked. But in the event it does, those walls are 35 inches thick. It's a groin vaulted ceiling. So literally that cannonball's going to have a hard time getting through to the gunpowder. But if it does, the roof you see is filled with sand. So the gist of it is that the gunpowder will explode the sand up, and then the sand will fall to put out the fire. Sounds like a great, clever plan, but it doesn't work. We had another powder magazine close to the battery, obviously much closer to the water based on our geographics here, and that's exactly what happened. The sand went up, but was unable to put out the fire, and that powder magazine burned to the ground. This one, fortunately for us, has never been attacked. It has served in 7 different wars, and it has a pirate ghost attached to it. Not to mention, it's our oldest government building on the East Coast.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's not our oldest building here in Charleston. We have houses that are slightly older, but this is our oldest government building. So during the time frame that this place was being built, which took about a decade for those times, so we're talking 1703 to 1713, this small little building. 1708, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. She moves here with her dad, his mistress, and that happened to be her mom. And they moved here to get away from his wife. So she was pretty scorned and pissed off. The mistress was the maid. Yeah, so I know this one has a lot of weird connections to it, so I'll try my best to keep it together. So I always kind of like do tallies for you on this story because there's a lot of moving parts. So anyway, she moves here with her dad. She's she's probably 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and then at that point she becomes a teenager as she sees this place being built, and then pirates start coming into town soon after. So we're talking 1714 to 1750. So she falls in love with one of these pirates. His name was James Bonney. So Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy-ass pirate, and that's not what Dad wants for his daughter, but she says, I'm going to go to Jamaica and marry him. So that's exactly what she did. So Anne Cormack now is an Anne Bonney. So when she gets down there, she realizes her husband, her new, person she chose, is pretty much a coward. He's a privateer for the British. So what does that mean? He's spying on his own people and reporting back to the British. So this is not the Captain Jack Sparrow type guy that she really wanted. So she falls in love with another pirate.
Is it still working right?
Yep.
Because that number's not going.
Don't pay attention to the timer.
Okay. All right, sorry.
You had it moved a little bit, which is fine.
Okay.
It's just the timer stops whenever you do that. As long as that orange square is there, you're good. So when she gets down there, she falls in love with another guy. His name is John Rackham, but goes by Calico Jack. So much cooler name, up and coming pirate. These folks are probably going to cut through here, maybe.
Slowly easing back in.
Nope. So Calico Jack is new and upcoming. He's got his own ship, and she wants to be part of it. But let's face it, females curse pirate ships. No offense, but they do. So, so he says, you have to dress like a guy to be part of my crew. You could be a female in my quarters, new girlfriend, but you gotta dress like a guy so the guys don't think we're cursing the ship. So she agrees. So she is a guy on the ship. Her being a female in the quarters gets her pregnant eventually. So what's Jack do? He drops her off in Cuba to go have the baby, come back to the ship, and we'll figure out the rest. Do we have any words coming up?
Huge childhood.
Oh, there we go. So, and what's funny is she used to dress like a boy as a child because the father was trying to pass her off as an apprentice to his attorneyship, so that way the wife didn't get suspicious. So she was already used to being dressed like a guy anyway. So, sorry, the childhood thing just kind of triggered an extra piece of the story. But anyway, in Cuba, has the baby, returns to the ship, no baby. We have no idea what happened. So this is kind of like your expert level where you can ask whatever you want to. But when she returns to the ship, she's dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. So obviously that makes Jack pretty mad. So what does she do? She goes down below deck to the pirate crew he just acquired and captured and starts flirting. Well, the guy she was flirting with happened to be a girl dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that got captured by Calico Jack. Does that make sense? So she just flirted with a girl and didn't know it. But the girl reveals herself and says, I'm female, I don't swing that way, my name's Mary Read. The two become friends. So whenever you read a story about Anne Bonney, you usually get Mary Read to go along with it because the two were kick-ass females. So they're above deck, dressed like females. The British fleet rolls in. All the other pirates are down below deck watching the new captures, and they're probably too drunk to come up. Well, the entire British fleet starts attacking, so it's literally Anne Bonney and Mary Read attacking back, and that's it. So obviously their ship gets captured. All the pirates down below deck, including Calico Jack, get tried and hung pretty quickly for piracy. And Anne Bonney and Mary were tried a week later because they were fighting back. The Chief Justice wants to see them separately. So they reveal their gender in front of the judge. We're female, you can't hang us. He says, I don't care, I'm still going to convict you for piracy and you're going to hang. We plead our bellies, which both means they said that they were pregnant. He says, okay, so we'll delay your hanging. You're still being convicted for piracy, go back to jail. Well, Dad's still here in Charleston. He bails her out and brings her back home. Apparently she remarries, so that's guy number 4. We're going to count Mary Read as number 3. And she has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. I don't know how we got such specific details, but out of the 5 books I read on this woman, those were the common things. What happened to Mary Read? She died in a Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. You can use your imagination. That was in 1721. So there's a lot of holes in that story. A lot. So we're going to get close. You can ask whatever questions you want. I can help you out and kind of like, oh, maybe you can ask what the date was of what her trial was, because I know that one by heart, or what year that was, so forth and so on. What was the Chief Justice name? You know, a lot of people want to ask about the kids. I don't know jack about the kids.
Right.
But I've had the name Calico and Jack show up here in the same night. I didn't even believe this story when I was just doing a Philadelphia alley run, and then I added this. I was like, why would she even come here? But it makes sense. This is the only building that would be familiar to her. So we're going to get close. You're going to turn that thing up, and we're going to go see what we can capture.
All right.
My thermal imaging here does a lot of weird stuff. Sometimes it glitches. It gives me cold spots that I can't recognize. So I've been focusing on a thermal in a specific area, too. I can probably pull out the REM pod, too, because we've been getting some weird stuff out of this location.
Bonnie. Or bonnet, I don't know.
I thought I heard bomb.
Bomb? Oh, bomb.
But again, that's why we record it. That's why I can listen to it in the morning.
Actually making music.
Jamaican music.
I've had Cuba show up here too.
You've had what?
Cuba.
Oh yeah?
Comes up here all the time.
Questions.
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want to know? What's gonna prove it to you that
Point it towards that thing.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I have got to get a person in there. I'm looking all
it
over.
really doesn't matter. It's all about the area. Because Anne Bonny's ghost is said to be seen everywhere. This is just more so because of the time period. You got the match.
It's been matched for a while.
Is there any names before that?
I don't think so. Questions.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. 2850.
How far?
I don't have any EMF here at all.
How many years? What question? Give me a question. Give me a question and I'll put it into a form.
I have no idea. I don't know.
You're so Bonnie, help us with the questions.
That's what the question.
How many children did you really have? Let's see.
What were your children's names?
I don't know what
She
those
doesn't know what those are, he said.
Maybe ask what her mother's name was. I know that one.
Oh, there you go. What was your mother's name?
Bonnie, we need to know your mother's name. Mother or father, maybe? It's not gonna get you. What's your mother's name?
Absolutely nothing. This is usually a dead zone for EMF anyway, so if something does come up, I get excited. That's the big numbers at the top. But we've been getting, the REM pod action here. That's why I pulled that out. Oh, now it wants to come up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Keeps coming back to match.
Well, it's just staying there.
Oh.
So it's not that it's giving it to us multiple times.
Oh.
It's just staying on your screen.
You have after the mother's name, father's name,
Children's names. How many children?
how many children, the year of when she came back here.
That's a good one. So the answer to the children would be the number 5, because technically what I know is that she had 4 after she came here and remarried, but she also had that 1 baby in Cuba. So we
Okay.
had 4 plus the 1. So I've had the number 5 come up here before because that's pretty common.
And so she left the baby in Cuba?
Or the baby didn't make it. We don't know.
Okay.
There's not enough in the books for me, like when I'm writing down all these facts,
Yeah.
like what's common. Do you know what I mean? So again, reading as many books as I did about this woman, it was all about, because there's so many different versions of it, I just wanted the things that were common, so that way we can kind of go based off of that, some kind of truth. Now I'm getting 0.6. You can turn that back up. Let's try to get some answers before we wrap this up. That doesn't look like it's giving us anything. And Bonnie, give us something. What do you want to tell us?
Did you like
25.
to dance? Was she open-ended? Because you were dancing. Still want mother's name. Maybe one of the 5 children. What's another question?
What was the name of the Calico Jack ship?
Sorry.
Calico Jack ship name.
Oh.
Because all ships had names.
All ships had names. Okay. What's the ship's name?
I got a steady 0.2, but it's not giving me any rem card at all.
Where is he? Where is he? What's next one? What's that? What's that?
That's what?
What's the dark blue?
It's just where it's
Oh,
cold.
the plant.
Just the ground is cold. But what's interesting is that there's cold like circles, and then it's hot and cold and hot and cold along the pavement, which is,
Well,
I don't know.
cold.
Here, that would be odd if we were in the Pinckney Mansion site, because it's gravel and mud.
Yeah.
So you're going to see your hot and cold spots, because mud is obviously going to be cooler than your gravel.
Yeah.
But with here, like, it should be pretty steady. And it's
Yeah,
not.
no, you've got like, I didn't do that. So you got like, there's red and then there's blue and red and blue, and it's not like that other places in the
I wonder
parking lot.
if cars were parked here while the sun was out, because the asphalt will hold on to heat from wherever the
There
sun
you
was.
go. Yeah, that makes a
So-
lot of sense. Yeah,
By
because
the
this
way,
one here, you know,
the
it's.
car just got here, so it blew the heat down and made it warmer.
Mhm.
That happens all the time. The church, by the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, is actually a little off from the earthquake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not perfectly 90 degrees.
Oh.
Just stupid little fun facts about Charleston.
Point. It changed to a different word finally.
Point. We were just talking about the steeple.
Sometimes holding this thing, my arm starts to vibrate.
Oh, really?
It's weird.
That's because you're holding it in the same spot. That's probably for me. Jiggling it around.
Maybe it's a quiet night all the way around, Kyle. Withdraw.
Take that. Get closer, make it go to yellow. Make it go to the next color. Whoever's here. So a few weeks ago, it was a small group like this, and the person with the thermal imaging camera was filming the 2 people, and the person holding the spirit box, it went white over them real quick, and then the spirit box quit working. We walked out of that area, and it started working again, and was already back in recording.
Oh, wow.
Equate bottle. It's an equate bottle.
Well,
Equate.
bottles obviously would have been alcohol or water. I've had that show up here before. At first, I'm like, it's kind of vague. It is a piratey term. I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it here more than once.
It must have been scary being on a ship pretending to be a man and being a woman.
Yeah.
Well, again, she was already used to it from her father.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And she had a pretty bad temper. Like, she killed one of their servants when they lived back home in Ireland as a
Ooh.
kid. Like, she was a badass chick. She didn't give a damn about anything. Don't make her mad.
She might be sensitive, get mad at me. Shit.
There's actually a new Netflix documentary. It's called The Lost Kingdom of Pirates. It talks about all the pirates that I just told you about, including Steve Bonnet, who's also from here. What a great documentary. The acting in it was phenomenal. It was like watching a movie.
What is it? What is it? Is it streaming on something? Or-
Netflix.
What is it called?
The Lost Kingdom of Pirates.
Lost
It's amazing.
Kingdom
Kingdom.
of Pirates.
Eric, we finally got a name.
Oh, we were asking a name for the children.
And she
And
was
Dad.
Irish. So Eric probably would have been spelled with an E-R-I-C-K. So even though we have the right name, it probably would have been spelled differently. And again, I'll see if I can pull up anything, but to my knowledge, I don't think we have any names of the kids. And that name is not relatable to her dad or any of the lovers she had that I knew of.
There was a name.
We
There
do
you
have a
go.
name.
That's cool.
Maybe the white people who, or the.
I am getting a couple of blips here, which is good. I always test it from time to time just to make sure it's working.
Explore. It's telling us to explore.
The Lost Pirate Kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's getting all into it now, dude. You're not going to hear the end of this for weeks.
Well, she doesn't want me to mess up this thing, so that's why she keeps jumping in front of it to make sure that I
I'll
do
take
it
the word
correctly.
explore as a piratey term too, because
Oh, yeah.
I know it's vague,
Yeah.
but and it's not details.
We're not asking questions.
Well, I went pretty general. Like, what do you want to tell us?
That's true.
So, and that's usually how I wrap something up if they're not giving me much.
Gotcha.
So.
We're gonna get their story.
We're going to wait for one more term to come up, see if it's relevant, and then we'll wrap it up.
To the explore.
Well, it's just her story in general.
Story in general being pirate and the stuff she's been through.
But yeah, this guy is so complicated. I can't wait to get it down to that lighthouse.
Yeah.
Because they invited me. It was another podcast called Hillbilly Horror Stories. They're hosting this investigation. Of course, there's going to be a tour guide to tell the stories and whatnot, but we're allowed to bring whatever equipment we want to.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm bringing my whole bag. Like, you know, my wife will be there to help handle some of this stuff, but she'll be doing all the photography work because that's what she does for the business. She designed the logo from scratch, by the way. Like, that's what she does.
Cool.
Like, she's in graphic design. She does all my book covers and then anything I need for social media with stamps on it. But she'll be down there doing the photo stuff. I'll probably have her gear it up with something. But normally when I'm doing my own investigations, like all this stuff is running. People just don't know what I'm doing because I'm still enjoying the museum or wherever I'm at, just like you guys.
Yeah.
So, like, I did the Flight 93 museum up in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, for 9/11, where the plane went down.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm not going to walk around disrespectfully and say, "Hey, person that works here, give me a ghost story."
Yeah.
You know, I look at all the data later and kind of see what comes out of it. But everything's just on me, running some way, shape, or form. So this would be really cool to actually be out in the open with it because it's accepted. So I can't wait, especially with this guy, because they use these all the time on the TV shows, and I just want to see how much in that particular location. So I want to see how much they actually are legitimately working there. So, but anything else come up? We still on Explore?
In terms of this, yes. Yep. Do you want to look at the other words?
Yeah, we can see what else popped up. Drawl.
Stuff apart. Shift bottle. Equate. Selection withdrawal point.
Where was the bomb one?
That came up over there.
Oh, it was matched. That was the one that
Yeah.
wouldn't go
Hung.
away for a while.
Hung.
This is huge. Oh, there is a hung right there.
Mm-hmm.
December. What's the timestamp on that? 21.
That was over when we were in front of the church.
That would be Eliza's birthday.
Really?
So, I guess I'm looking at. I'm normally there until 10 o'clock, but we
Gotcha.
started early. So yeah, it still would have been. I'll take it because it's literally only 2 blocks away anyway. Courage Bridge would have been a game she may have played. Bet volume, talking, streaming. German eggs. And newspaper, if it showed up here, would have been relevant to the ad that Ralph Isaacs put in. Again, we're only like 0.5 miles away from where we started. Like we didn't go that far because we stopped at all those locations. But again, it's still kind of a stretch going, okay, well, we got newspaper back at Pinckney Mansion site, but we got Eliza's birthday over by Philadelphia Alley.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a stretch to say that. But that December, it's pretty prominent there. All right, let me take your red spirit box.
There it is. Oops. Just kidding. I have to come off my wrist. There you go. I didn't
And
try
you
it.
recorded all night. Yay. Makes my job a whole lot easier.
She follows directions well.
Sort of. Because I didn't turn it off and I couldn't ask the questions.
This guy goes in here. Wife got me all new cases. And they
Well, why
only
don't you
fit in
take
there
that from here? You can hold it.
Sorry, he's talking to us.
No matter. Again, we're just hanging out. Like this isn't a. Like I have to give a speech.
Oh, you may hold that. You should have told me that. You could have played with it all night.
No, I just want to play with it right now. There you are. See?
She just wants to see if it's actually gonna see through your clothes.
Uh-huh.
That's what she's doing right now.
Worried about it.
I want to see what you were supposed to do all night.
See what I was supposed to see?
I'll take that for this. We're not gonna get anything else out of this. Yeah, the wife bought me cases trying to help me out, but they only fit in a certain way. So everything has to go in a specific order. Not to mention my bag doesn't zip anymore. She works at Best Buy during the daytime, so she's like, we have discounts on batteries for all my stuff. And she's like, I got you some new cases, so you don't have all the individuals anymore. I'm like, I like the individuals. I'm like, okay, honey, thanks. All right, give me my camera.
That one's
One video?
cool.
That is cool.
But one video.